This is the Coming Home Podcast with John Allen. Okay. 3, 2, 1. And welcome everybody to this episode of Coming Home with John Allen. I am your humble host, John Allen. I want to remind everybody, whether you're listening to this on my radio station or watching it on YouTube or listening on a podcast platform, please remember that there are some links that you can click on to support the work that I do. I definitely appreciate your support. Now, today I'm speaking with you. You may be the record holder for the most appearances on my show. I'm going to check on that. But for those of you who don't know her, this is Lexie Koren. I call her friend and sister. She is such a shining light, not just in my life, but in Snoopy's life as well, and in a lot of other people. You touch a lot of people with the work you do, and now you've done it in written form. Congratulations on your book, which is called...
Oh, hi, and thank you.
That's a lot. Say hi first.
Hello. Yes. Oh, thank you. Yes, the book is called Creating Joy. Changemakers share rituals and practices for living a joy-filled life. And it's an anthology of 13 coaches and entrepreneurs writing about our journeys through difficult situations, difficult times such as depression, bereavement, and grief, to finding a way to live a joyful life.
Yeah. Spreading joy.
Exactly. That's what I'm
creating joy.
Yeah.
And that's literally what you do. I kind of touched on that in my little introduction of you. Do you find it difficult to facilitate the creation of joy at times? Given your own background, you touch on this in your writing that you don't have the most rosiest of childhoods in your early years, your teen years and whatnot. Does that get in the way of the work that you do sometimes, or is it an enhancement for the work that you do?
It's all about perspective,
Yes.
And how you choose to view your narrative, your history. And I've done a lot of work, just on my own, but also in therapy and with other people. And I think the way I see it is that all those obstacles and childhood traumas, they now, and in the last, 15, 20 years, have helped me understand other people who have gone through really, really difficult times with compassion and empathy, because I've been there.
You've been there, done that.
Yeah.
And you talk a lot about embracing yourself in your entirety. In other words, we are the sum of all of our life experiences, be they good, bad, negative, positive. Why not embrace all of that and find the life lessons within it that we teach ourselves, and then it facilitates the teaching of spreading joy and compassion and progress for others. Am I right?
Yes, I think it's all about what I write about is shame and releasing shame and giving yourself permission to play. I think we've talked about that in one of your podcasts.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
Talked about permission to play. This was before I knew I was going to be writing an international best-selling book.
An international best-selling book. I love it. I get chills when I think of that. I'm so happy for your success. And I say success in this early stage. It's only been... Has it been a week even since the book was released?
Yeah, just about a week. Last Friday. So yeah.
So it shot to the top of all the listings in international bestseller.
Yeah, in 5 categories. I think 4 or 5 categories in Australia, 4 or 5 categories in the UK, and also in the US. So we've been number 1 in all those categories. And
That's
it's been selling
beautiful.
around Europe as well. So,
That's beautiful.
Been great.
How did you, because this is quite the feat of networking. There's, what'd you say, 13 different authors. How did you guys get together? Who's the brainchild behind this? Who started this project?
Oh, this is Dina Berman. She is a wonderful woman. I met her a couple of years ago, right before the pandemic, at an event in London at the there was this gorgeous event at the Waldorf Astoria in London for 100
I remember
entrepreneurs.
when you went to that. Yeah.
Yes, and I met her there, and then we as you do, you become Facebook friends, and you follow people on their journeys. And I had she's a journalist, an ex-journalist from the UK, and she has her own publishing. She's a PR strategist,
Yes.
and has her own publishing company. So she was doing this anthology, and this showed up on my feed. Let's see, about 2 weeks. So I've been working on another book for a few years, and I couldn't choose. I didn't know how to choose the language, and it was sort of a healing story about the family and transgenerational trauma, and sort of rewriting the narrative and looking at the female gaze, because we've learned history from the male gaze, and I'd been doing lots of research, and sometimes I would write a little bit in Spanish, a little bit in Norwegian, a little bit in English, and I just couldn't put it all together.
Yeah.
So this Norwegian publishing house was interested in the story, and they said, send us the first draft. So I did.
This is all coming back to me. I remember you were talking about this. Yeah.
So I sent it. Mm-hmm. I was really nervous. It took me a while to get it, and I sent it, and then it got rejected.
Ooh.
And I was like,
ouch.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. But then I have this mantra that I work with, and I say it's every rejection is a redirection. And I focused on that.
Isn't it? Yeah.
I focus on that. It's like, I don't know it yet, but something's going to come up.
Yeah.
I have stories to tell, and
you believed in yourself.
Absolutely.
You believed in your story.
Exactly. So, and suddenly I see this on my feed, and she's looking for authors who want to share their stories and want to help other people create joy. I was like, but that's me. That's me. Go. That's what I'm here for.
Tailor-made for you.
Exactly. Yeah. So yes, definitely every rejection is a redirection. And then it became an international bestseller. I mean, I'm still kind of processing it.
Yeah. It's going to take a while to process that, but isn't it fun, that processing period? Well, this is a testimony to believing in yourself. Of course it hurt when it got rejected the first time, but if you believe in your story, and I want to say this for all aspiring writers, there's also the self-publishing route to go. And then the only person that can reject that is you yourself. You can decide not to write it and not to publish it. But I just think that is so amazingly fitting for you. Your voice needs to be heard. I've been telling you this since the first time I spoke with you. Your voice is a voice that needs to be magnified and heard by the masses. And here you go. Here you go. Listen, we're going to take a break. I want to play a little bit of music for everybody. This is Coming Home with John Allen. We'll be right back with Lexie Koren. And we're back. I'm sitting here talking with Lexie Koren. This is Coming Home with John Allen. Lexie, I have a note that I wrote here after reading over your portion of the book. And you wrote, this journey of initiation took me around the world, from psychotherapy in London to training with the shamans in the Amazon jungle. And that, I think very much in a visual sense. It's like a film being rolled in my head whenever I'm thinking about things. And this is quite the film segment here. The literal journey that you're on from London to the Amazon jungle. Let me ask you, though, you say this journey of initiation. What is that journey of initiation? What are you referring to?
So I think right before that, I'm talking about how I am at the last bit. I'm in a depression, in a depressive episode, where from the outside it looks like I have everything. Yeah. Everything that a young woman possibly could want to have, a great job and lovely friends and a fabulous apartment and city trips to Europe and whatnot. But I just wanted to die. Yeah. That's all I wanted.
Two things. That's very brave of you to actually put that into words for others to hear. But at the same time, it's quite common. I think a lot of us are at that point from time to time. We could have the great social life, the great business life, a great network of friends and associates, but we're depressed, we're hurting, and we're thinking that maybe life isn't worth living. Mm-hmm. And that's where you were for quite some time.
Yeah. So at that point, where I'm at a balcony in that flat, and I'm drinking a glass of wine, and I'm looking out. I was living near a forest, so I was like, okay, if I fall down here, and kind of in the ideation, exactly, playing it out. And I had been doing that for weeks and months, And I was at my wit's end.
Yeah.
And then this curiosity, I was prompted, and I thought, is there anyone else out there like me? Is there? I need to find out.
And that's why you're such a beautiful person, because in the midst of all of that, you're thinking, can my situation possibly help someone else? That's beautiful. There's not a lot of people who do that. I understand people get selfish in those moments of depression, but to be able to, in the midst of that depression, look for ways to turn that into something positive that can help others is quite the feat to pull off.
It was sort of a cry for help, I guess.
Sure.
I mean, it was curiosity became the medicine. It became
Yeah.
the light switch that
Yeah.
that started the initiation process. So the initiation process for me is the beginning of understanding my mental health.
Yeah.
Because up until then, I was just doing things, and I was doing the things that society was telling me to do.
So you weren't engaging in a truthful introspection, possibly. I would say that I'm a believer in introspection, looking inward and evaluating oneself constantly, or as often as possible. And if we don't do that, we don't see that there are pathways out of depression. And I'm not talking down on anyone who doesn't engage in that type of introspection, because it's very hard to do, but it sounds like you found a way to actually analyze your situation. Where did that come from? Where did that strength come from? Because that's what it took. It took strength to do that.
We all have this, if we look at it like psychoanalytic terms and Freudian terms, we have the death wish, but
Yes.
we also have the desire to live. And they are fighting for each other. They're fighting for survival.
Yeah.
And right before that, like in my teens and 20s, if you look at the story I've written, I've written a little bit, not much, about the type of childhood trauma. This becomes part of your narrative. This is what the world is a dangerous place, and you can't trust anyone. So therefore, I'm going to do my best from the rules that are set upon me from the outside world to behave in that way so that I can ensure my survival.
Yeah.
But what if your internal world is unregulated, is dysregulated, and it's just like screaming inside?
Yeah.
But on the outside, you need to keep masking and to fit in. And when in reality, it's not about fitting in; it's about belonging. It's about belonging, and you can't belong anywhere. You can't belong anywhere when you have that sort of screaming child inside you.
Right. That screaming child is disruptive.
Mm-hmm.
That screaming child gets told to go to bed and will deal with you in the morning.
Right.
So there's a certain amount of strength that can be gained through introspection that can deal with that screaming child right then and there. You managed to do that.
It's a work in progress, though, because it's only, I just say, like, creating joy is not about a gimmick or...
Oh, no. Creating joy doesn't mean that we're never depressed, that we're never critical of ourselves. Absolutely not,
It's a practice. It's a daily practice. It's a practice of gratitude and pleasure and playfulness. So the way that I apply it in my daily life is to be led by joy. So is this serving my highest good? Is this the happiest version of myself I can be? But without, doing spiritual bypassing and saying, love and light.
Spiritual bypassing.
Well,
I never heard that term. What is that?
That's a sort of, spiritual bypassing is a term that is used in spiritual communities where people saying, we just vibe high and we don't accept any other emotions in this group because we are love and light and peace and love. And we are that, but we are all the other things as well.
Aren't we, though? Yeah. Spiritual bypassing. Interesting. I can see a lot, thinking of Christianity and some of the situations that I see back home in America with some of these fundamentalist Christian churches or organizations that are dipping their feet into the political realm and to promote a certain political view. They're saying, if you're going to be with us, you have to do this, this, and this. And that's just so far removed from what I view spirituality to be. I don't see spirituality as restrictive or exclusionary. Just a little side thought. This is coming away from the topic of the work you do, or your book rather. But isn't that whole realm of spirituality a big part of who you are? You're not religious, but you're spiritual.
Oh, definitely. But I think it's I don't think it's a digression. I think it's quite on point, because I write about Janteloven, the
Yes.
law of Jante,
Yeah.
in the book. And that is based on a Calvinistic, like a Christian philosophy that it was. I don't know if people who are listening have heard of the law of Jante, but it was first written in a book by Axel Sandemose, a Danish-Norwegian writer, and it was a fictional account of a Scandinavian small town where you had 10 laws that you had to follow in the fictional town of Jante. And one of the laws is you shall not think you are anything, you should not laugh at us, you should not believe you are anything, that you're going to achieve anything in life, And if you break any of those norms, there will be consequences. And the consequences are normally shame-based. So you will experience shame and being shamed and ostracized and othered by the society. So this book came out, I don't know, maybe 100 years ago now.
Yeah.
Or I don't remember.
But boy, does it fit today.
Exactly. And it's become, in Scandinavian society, it's sort of an informal law that permeates a lot of the society here. So when you're a little child, a person of color growing up in a small town with this informal law, you start looking at yourself through those eyes, and you realize later. I mean, I realized later it was shame based. It was shame based. So I was carrying all this shame for being me.
And I would imagine that snuck up on you. Nobody ever realizes that they start to walk that path. All of a sudden, it's like you blink once and, oh my gosh, what happened to me? This shaming, and now I'm actually applying the shaming to myself.
Yes.
I always tell my kids, I tell some of my clients as well, if you would be offended or upset if someone else said this about you, then why do you say it about yourselves? And yet, I mean, that sounds so, everybody's like, of course. But somehow those things sneak up on us. What can we do? I mean, is it a case of repetition? Again, I talk about this introspection where you evaluate your life and do it as often as you can. Is it a matter of repetition to strengthen ourselves, to fight against the law of Jante, to fight against that external shaming that can become an internal shaming if we're not awake? What do we do? How do we fix that? How do we prevent that?
Well, I don't think you can prevent that. I think you can work with it and through it.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
That's a very real answer.
Yeah. I mean, we can try and fix things, but then again, that's working from perfectionism. And perfectionism is shame-based.
It is, absolutely. Listen, we need to take a break. I'm sorry. We need to take a quick break. And when we come back, I want to ask you, how does your story affect what you do today? Okay. All right. We're going to tie your past with your present. This is Coming Home with John Allen. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Remember, you have links where you can click in to support the work I do. We'll be back in a second. And we're back now. I'm talking with Lexie Koren. Lexie, a lot of people try to erase their past. They want to forget about it. They want to move beyond that because of trauma from the childhood, trauma in their adult life, negative experiences. A lot of people want to just erase that and move on. But you write about integrating one's story into their life, into the work that they're doing. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of that?
Yes, that's from the acronym LIFE.
The acronym LIFE, yeah.
Do you have it there?
Learn the signs, integrate your story, find like-minded people, and express yourself. I like to talk about all of those things, but in this case, it's more on the lines of integrate your story. Because again, a lot of people always want to, in fact, I've had maybe 3 or 4 guests on my podcast who are formerly incarcerated. They've committed crimes, felonious crimes, and been incarcerated for a number of years. And each one of them has actually incorporated that experience into their present life, and they're using it to better themselves and others. So you talk about integrating your story. Where
Well, I work with narrative. So I'm interested in the people that I see, the clients that I see, and for them to become the authors of their life story. Not life that happened to them, but life, now they can look at life as the, the observers of, okay, with compassion, and this part of me, this is part of me, this is part of my past. And there's another way of, trauma informed practice doesn't necessarily mean that you have to feel and go into the feeling of the trauma, the specific trauma all the time. So it's not like you're going to be going over and over it again, but it's recognizing something happened.
Yeah.
And it shaped the way I feel now. But it's recognizing that and owning it. And then you can release it. It's when things are named.
Yeah.
You name the elephant in the room. Oh, there's a pink elephant in the room. Oh, okay, that's fine. So it just disappears.
Yeah.
And that's something that happens when you start integrating the different aspects of your personality, the different aspects of your life, your story, and you become the author from this present moment.
Take control.
I don't like to use the word control.
Oh, shame on me.
No.
Why not?
No, because we never have control.
That's kind of a Buddhist, Taoist thought. Rather than take control, let things be and experience them as they are.
Yeah, experience them, and then you can choose. You have choice. You can choose how to respond.
I see.
Yeah.
That's a lot healthier approach than what I said, take control. Take control can be, you can start to sweat from that. You can hurt from that. You can be disillusioned in your selfish focus. There's a lot of selfishness in control, I guess. On retrospection, when I think of it, that is, when I think of control, I think of selfish.
Okay. Maybe.
That's me.
Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah. I just find that there's very little flow in. I mean, you can be boundaried and you can be strong. You can have grounded confidence.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that you need to have control.
I see.
Right?
Well, it would take an adventurous spirit to stay away from having control, because an adventurous spirit without control means that anything can happen.
Anything
some
can
people
happen.
Some people fear that. Some people fear that, though. Yeah.
But that's the thing. Anything can happen. If for the last few years have shown us that.
Yeah. Oh God.
and trying to control a situation that is out of control, it's going to just cause us hell.
So there could be a lot of unnecessary strife in the effort towards controlling everything in your life rather than just letting it happen. But that doesn't mean you just sit back and you do nothing to better yourself. You do nothing to change what's going on around you. Am I right? I mean, you have to have a certain amount of activity towards something better, something positive.
There's a different. I believe that you can still have ambition and you can still dream big and you can still, but without forcing it. And control comes with force.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm more like an attraction sort of person. So like what I was saying before, with every rejection is a redirection.
Right.
I didn't linger I didn't stay there and pine over being rejected. I was like, okay, it sucks. Just recognize it. Yeah. Recognize the feeling.
Honest, yeah.
This sucks. But I know for a fact, and life has shown me, that
this isn't the end of this process. There's something else further down the line. Whereas maybe a more controlling mindset would have dwelled on that rejection and how to change it. Control. Maybe I need to think about that word and how I use it and how I apply it to my life.
The thing is, you can still be confident. You can say, this is something that I use a lot. It's like, this is a vision I have. Mm-hmm. I'm not quite sure how it's going to work out, but I feel it so strong. And I can, in my meditations, I can go in and really feel like I'm there. I'm doing the thing. Yeah. I'm there. And it's just beautiful and gorgeous. And I focus on the way I feel.
Yeah.
And then I try to recreate that feeling.
Yes.
In my day-to-day.
I can identify with that. I take my feeling and I put it into a visualization, that little film, that roll of film that goes. Then the work comes with trying to apply that film to real life. Yeah. But again, it's that process of introspection and self-analyzation. I wanted to ask you on, life. Learn the signs, integrate your story, find like-minded people, express yourself. Now, in your project with writing this book, you certainly found the like-minded people.
Yes.
You put yourself out there. You travel, you go to seminars. Has that always been easy?
No, not necessarily easy. It takes a little bit. I'm an introvert, so
that's why I ask. Yeah.
I like my own company, and I enjoy being home painting or being in a studio painting, creating. That's my happy place.
Yeah.
But I'm also very curious, and I have a thirst for knowledge. I want to learn.
Yeah.
I always want to learn, and I know that I need to be out there with other people learning. So yeah, I jump. I mean, I'm off to Palm Springs in September.
Palm Springs, really?
Yeah, I'm
in September. There you go. A little extra sunshine and warmth.
Right. I'm going to the summit, a joy summit.
A joy summit.
Exactly.
Yes.
So it all happened as I was, the book was going to come out, and then this summit opened the doors, and I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm terrified, but I'm doing it. Things like that. And, I was in Switzerland earlier this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us about that in Switzerland. You had quite the experience, and we never got to talk about it. I think we had planned on you coming in to do a podcast episode, and I canceled, and we just never got back to it. Can you tell us about what you were doing in Switzerland?
Well, that's there isn't much I can say about it publicly, but it's there's a few premium clinics for let's say VIP people.
Yeah.
Who need a space to work through their issues. And
isn't it basically a coaching retreat?
It's not a retreat. It's clinic.
Okay.
So you have a multidisciplinary team of psychotherapists, psychiatrists, yoga therapists, nutritionists. Yeah, all kinds of, and it's luxury. It's high end.
Yeah.
So there's this concierge, this a chef. It's really good treatment, and I was hired as a personal coach. So to
me, that's another testament of the good work that you do, because you were actually hired into this high end. I mean, that means something, and you were hired in to do a job for. And I understand you can't talk details. I understand there's some.
It's confidentiality.
Yeah, there's a lot of confidentiality and whatnot, but that's yet another testament to how important and exclusive, if I can use that word, I use that in a positive sense, the type of work that you did there. Very cool. It's just another testament of you doing the work that you do and helping people the way you help them.
Yeah, I feel very fortunate to have these experiences, but there's also this other thing. It's about our shared humanity.
Yeah.
Whether we come, I've worked with all sorts of people, and we all have feelings.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we all have loss, and we all experience pain, and we all have a desire to create joy in our lives.
Yeah.
So, and that's where I come in.
That's where Lexie Koren comes in. She facilitates the creation of joy. We're going to take another music break here, and when we come back, we're going to continue this amazing discussion. I just love talking with you, and we're going to continue this discussion with Lexie Koren in just a few minutes. This is Coming Home with John Allen. Thanks for listening. And we're back now. This is Coming Home with John Allen, and I'm speaking with Lexie Koren. Look at that smile. We're just the two cutest things. No Yantel in here. We're cute, and we'll say it out loud.
Yes, we are.
I want to ask you, a relatively new thing in coaching now is focusing on retreats. where the coach or the therapist will set aside a specific place for a certain length of time for some in-depth, maybe this is similar to what you did in Switzerland. What are your thoughts about that? And do you have anything like that coming up?
Yes, I love retreats. I did that a few years ago in Chile. So near the south of, by the foot of the Andes Mountains, we held a retreat for female therapists and healers in a gorgeous location just under a volcano. Gorgeous. And it was such a beautiful, intense, profound, transformative experience that I fell in love with the format. And I've done a few after that, integrative arts retreats. And now I am looking to set up sexual wellness retreats.
Sexual wellness retreats, because for those who don't know, Lexie is a sexologist as well.
Yes. Yeah. So I apply all my experience in the realm of psychotherapy, creativity, which is, I'm an artist as well.
And a good one at that.
Thank you.
Check her out on social media, especially Instagram. I just want to plug that for you. You're a great artist, and there's something therapeutic in every post that you put up that has to do with art. So check it out, people.
Thank you. Yes. So I'll do that. And my sexology experience and knowledge, put it all together into a gorgeous VIP sexual wellness retreat. And more information is going to come on that.
Now, is this for couples or individuals or both?
I'm going to do first for women, and then I'm going to do for couples.
Okay.
But yes, check out my website and go into my Instagram, because there you'll find all the links. You'll find the links available to my free resources. I have free meditation.
Ah.
Yes.
Of course, I knew that. I signed up for that, actually. You have my email address. I signed up for that. Well, tell people your website so they can hook into this. How do they find you online?
So they can find me on LexieKoren.com.
That's LEXIEKOREN.com.
And you can find me on Instagram. I have Ms. MS Lexie Koren.
Yeah.
That's where my everything is.
Everything
I have
is there.
Like all the arts.
You have a link
everything.
tree from there, don't you?
Yes, and I have a link tree from there. And then I have another Instagram called Joyful with Lexie. And that's specifically for creative entrepreneurs. So artists and creative entrepreneurs who are looking for some self-care practices.
That's quite the niche to get into, yeah.
Yeah, so there it's fresh, it's super fresh. So I created it as soon as, right before the book came out, actually. And I do little TikToks with tips on how to have more self-care and have self-care practices for artists and creative entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Do you have any experience in theater? Because some of your TikToks, some of your Instagram things are quite theatric.
Yes.
You're something of an actress.
Well, I am an actress. I trained as an actress a long time ago. I think, how many years now? 20 something years ago.
Yeah.
I studied theater. I went to drama school in London and in Paris. And then I did theater
Paris too. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought, okay, learn something new. Yeah.
Yes. So I did that. And I stopped after the first year in Paris, because we were going to start with Shakespeare. And I was like, I don't think I can do Shakespeare in French. I can barely order coffee in French. So I don't know. So then I moved, I went over to London and I took private classes with an actor from the Royal Shakespeare Company.
Okay.
And that's how I got into drama school with his guidance.
Okay.
Because of this accent, right? So I have an accent, and is it Scandinavian, or is it? It has a British twang, but it's got the rhythm of a Latina. So what was she talking? But when I do my scripts, if I do if I have to do like a British character, I can work on that.
Well, you must have a good ear.
Yeah.
When you speak English, I hear British. You know. And when you speak Norwegian, it's perfect Norwegian. I don't have any knowledge of French, but you must have a good ear, so you're somewhat of a musician as well.
Indeed.
See, we're just finding out all this stuff. Now, I knew you were a musician, but I want people to know that you do that as well, and they can find your music on Spotify.
Yes. Yeah? We're on all platforms.
All platforms, yeah.
Music is played on YouTube as well. And we have the song Merci Bien, It Makes Me Feel Good, which is perfect for creating joy. Yeah. It's on the theme, right? It's I've got a theme. I might be doing lots of different things,
but the theme is creating joy.
Creating joy and permission to play.
Permission to play.
Yeah,
I love that phrase, and I think about that a lot. In all honesty, I've incorporated that phrase, permission to play, and I apply it to my life, because there was a while where I didn't give myself permission to play. I was either caught up in being depressed about losing my son, or caught up in, what's happening with my business and my art and things like that. And I think the best application for the phrase permission to play is when it comes to my art, to my writing, to my music, to what I'm doing here on the radio. This is supposed to be fun, so I have to give myself permission to allow it to be fun and not just work.
Right. I just have to say something about that. When you say getting caught up in the loss of your child and getting caught, the use of the word caught up, I mean, let's normalize that, because it's absolutely, you can feel all the feelings there. Yeah. And also know that joy can coexist with grief.
Exactly, and that's what I found out. It took me a few months, but thank goodness I have the beautiful and smart and loving wife that I do. Hi, Snoopy. I don't even know why I say hi. She never listens. She doesn't even know the name of my show. Anyway, no, I thank her for showing me that I could use or I could apply the loss of my son to an overdose. I could apply that to my life in a way to where I'm teaching myself something and possibly teaching others, or at the very least helping others. And it's because of her that I started doing I'm on the microphone because of her. She told me, put that story and put that desire to help myself and others, put that into the work that I do. So it becomes less work and more of a joyful process of putting something positive out there that is born from something so tragic as losing my son.
Yeah. The thing that you're doing right now as well is such a great way to create joy as well. Gratitude, seeing the people, seeing the positive impact the people around you have had and being grateful for that.
Absolutely.
That creates a spiral. That they've done some research on this, that the more gratitude you feel, the more joy you experience, and the more joy you experience, the more gratitude you feel. Yeah. So it's an upward spiral.
It's a beautiful circle or a beautiful spiral of positivity. It's quite uplifting.
Right.
I like the image of it being an uplifting spiral. Yeah.
Because you have the other one, the rumination, the critical. That's a downward spiral.
I was there. Yeah. And I want to put this out there. Lexie and I are talking about how to, put life in a positive direction and to think positive, be positive. But the reality of it is there's a lot of negativity out there.
Yeah.
And we're not blind to that, and we're not telling anyone who's watching or listening to be blind to that either. Life is a yin and yang. So wherever we find happiness and positivity, there's also sadness and negativity. But I think the question is where do we get the awareness? Where do we get the strength to recognize that for what it is and always be looking for the opportunity to turn that negativity into positivity and not be caught up in that downward spiral?
I think it goes back to control. Letting go, releasing.
Yeah.
And just observing things as they are.
Yeah.
And then being grateful for what you have and what you experience, but also not denying the things that are around us. Horrible things happen. Horrible things have been happening since day one of humanity.
Yeah.
but also wonderful things.
Yeah.
And like I said, they can coexist. And what you focus on is what you have more of in your life.
I think being grateful is the key there.
Mm-hmm.
If we're no longer grateful for the positive things that are around us, we're going to be blind to the positive things that are around us. And then life is just this big negative struggle, this sweaty, painful struggle.
Yeah,
If
and
we
it
lack,
can be that. It can be that.
Sure.
I think that if we figure out how to reframe and look at how we want to experience life, because we become the things that we see,
Yes.
and we can form an identity around feeling a certain feeling. So if I feel that life is unjust towards me, and it's unjust towards me all the time,
I'm a victim.
exactly, then that's what you're going to be experiencing, and you're going to be looking for that.
Right.
You're going to be training yourself to experiencing all that.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that that I'm not victim blaming here,
No,
because
no.
I just can't.
No, no.
That's something I can't stand.
No. Oh, absolutely.
But I am saying that how you can get yourself empowered again, and that's to look for the things that you do
Yes.
have choice over, and you find out what you do like to experience, and go and get it.
Well, and that's why I'm such a believer in introspection, that's self-evaluation. And I do this daily. Some people call it meditation. Some people call it prayer. I call it all of those things, and I wrap it up in introspection. And I do this every day. I take at least 10 minutes and just run through it's almost like a mantra, or it's almost like a checklist or something. Who am I? What have I done to reinforce that? What do I need to let go of? What should I seek? How does it affect me? How does it affect others? And this sounds like a lot for a 10-minute process, but it's like people say with meditation. You may meditate actively for years and never really feel like you're getting something out of it, but you are. And when you realize that you're getting something out of it, well, then those effects, you can extrapolate it. It's in multiples, the benefits of it. And again, mostly because of my wife telling me to try and find the positive in this, it led me to this daily routine, this daily ritual, if you will, of, again, meditation, prayer, whatever people want to call it. I call it introspection. And that gives me a constant reminder. And I think that introspection or prayer or meditation can give people that constant reminder of what they should be grateful for. And if you can find the time, and I guess I can be so cheeky as to say that I think just about everybody has 10 minutes a day for themselves. And if you take 10 minutes and just look at your life and look at yourself and find those things that you should be grateful for, and that will give you the strength to keep going. Yeah. In spite of how bad things are, again, latch on to what you can be grateful for in the midst of what you're suffering.
Yeah. I have a practice that I would like to share, but perhaps we can talk about it later. Do we need to go over?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Are you my producer? I think I need a producer because I just get to talking. I need a producer waving in the background telling me to take a break. We're going to take a break now. Thank you, Lexie, my guest and producer. We'll be right back. This is Coming Home with John Allen. Thank you. It was time to take a break. And we're back. We're back now after a very brief music break. Lexie, tell us what you want us to hear.
I have this practice that I do that helps me really create magic in my life.
Magic.
And I share this with everyone who wants to create magic in their lives. And that's to turn routine into ritual.
From routine to ritual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a mindfulness practice, really. So let me give you like a random day.
Please. Yeah.
Wake up in the morning. First thing I do is take a deep breath and then write down I have a morning pages. I have a journal.
Okay.
That I write down either my dreams, the first things that come to mind, or anything, just anything that wants to come out. I just write it down. And then I ask myself, before I even think about what's going to happen throughout the day, I ask myself, what kind of day do I want to have today? and mostly it's kind of an exciting day. I like, sometimes I like to have exciting, other times I like to have a really peaceful day.
Sure.
But I make the decision.
Yeah.
How and what do I need to do to experience that kind of day? So that it's, so immediately this is a magical
Well, sure.
component.
Immediately with that very first step
Yeah.
of asking yourself, what kind of day do you want to have?
Yeah, so you
It's beautiful.
set yourself up for a really beautiful, magical day, and then everything else, like when I put on cream, I have a 3-step process that I like to put on this cream. I was doing this exercise the other day that I found deeply moving. It caught me by surprise.
Yeah.
So I was putting on the lotion and I was saying nice things to myself in the mirror. And I was saying to them, like affirmations. I was saying them to myself in English. And they were like, yeah, sure, that's great. And then I was like, what would happen if I did it in Spanish? Because Spanish was the first language I heard and learned.
Yeah.
And then I started doing that, and suddenly my face turned into a little child. And I felt so much love for that child. And I realized the voices and the things that I was saying was the voice of my father. They were kind, caring, nurturing, beautiful voice. And I was filled with so much love and gratitude for, I'm getting a little bit teary now, for so much gratitude for the love that my father gave me growing up.
Yeah.
And I had to call him right away. Dad, look what I discovered. You're in me.
I love it.
Your voice.
Yeah.
You're in me, and I didn't know. I just discovered it like 40 years later. And he started crying, and but it was a beautiful, and it came from putting on lotion.
Yeah.
So it's, so you make a ritual out of routine.
I just wonder how much better off the world in general would be if people actively started these rituals or habits or just, lifestyle changes to where they were actually giving themselves something positive, something loving, especially if they do it from the minute they wake up and then take that with them throughout their day.
Yeah.
How would people be touched? What a different world it would be.
And how would we treat others?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, because we're so mean. We're so mean towards ourselves. But if you look at the world, it's just like, if people who are hurting, not everyone hurts other people, because there's plenty of hurt people who don't hurt other people.
That's true.
But there's also a lot of the other ones that do commit a lot of heinous crimes. If we could just, compassion for ourselves and our stories. And again, I'm taking back to the acronym in the book.
Life. Yeah.
Life, find back to life in your life.
Life, learn the signs, integrate your story, find like-minded people, express yourself.
Yeah, community, finding like-minded people. That's so important. To see that you're not alone in this.
Yeah.
If you're having a dark night of the soul, if you're having problems sleeping at night, if you isolating yourself from other humans and really having a negative self-talk, critical self-talk, those are the signs. If it's affecting your mood, you can seek help. There's the proceeds of the book of Creating Joy.
Yes.
They go to a mental health charity called the Crisis Helpline. It's a text service for people in crisis. So
people will see that. I want to say I saw that when I downloaded the ebook.
Yeah.
That link is posted there, and I do ask you people to really take that step. I'm not saying this in a superficial manner at all. If you download this book, not only will you be helping my good friend Lexie out with getting her work recognized, but you're going to be helping yourself. There is so much, I call it good medicine, in that book. Now, in all honesty, I've only read the chapter that you contributed, but just from glancing over what the other authors have put in there, this is stuff that people can use, whether they're an entrepreneur or whether they're just the average person living their life, working a 9 to 5. There's so much medicine in there. There's so much positivity and little life hacks. That's almost overused term, but there's life hacks in there that can make your life better. And if you make your life better, you can make the lives of those around you better. That's quite the powerful thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's contagious.
Yeah. Positivity is contagious. Yeah. Well, and just like negativity is contagious. Look what happens online when people start these, very often it's rooted in politics, and they start these ugly, name-calling, disgusting discussions. And it's just vitriol and spitting fire and trying to own the other side and whatnot. That's contagious as well. But we can choose what we want to be smitten by. I choose to be infected with positivity. I surround myself with people like you. I haven't been surrounded by you. You've actually been gone for a while. We haven't talked in a long time.
Yeah.
But again, I think it's about networking. And in that networking process, you are pulling positivity to you, because we can choose who we want to learn from. We can choose very often who we want to teach. So it's an infection of positivity and uplifting. It's quite the process.
Yeah, and it's not. We're not going to be for everybody.
No.
No. But the people who resonate with your message and with your energy are the people that are going to be attracted to you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. We're going to take another music break, and we're going to wind things up. I'm going to ask Lexie a couple of questions. I'm going to ask Lexie to do a little bit of work for me here. We'll catch that on the microphone. This is Coming Home with John Allen. We'll be right back. And we're back now. This is Coming Home with John Allen. Lexie, I want to ask you to do two things for me. I'm putting you on the spot here.
Okay.
I think I've done this with you before, but we'll see. I'm going to say three words, and I'd like you to complete the sentence. Just one sentence. Lexie Koren is?
A being of joy.
A being of joy. Could we also say a bringer of joy?
I don't know if I bring. Well, yeah,
you
some people
certainly
might
do.
say, yeah.
You certainly do. You emanate positivity, happiness, and fun. You really do. That's why people love you. That's why I love you. Yeah. A being of joy. That's good.
Yeah, and when I'm not in that space, I don't feel like myself.
What do you mean? That's interesting.
Because that's what I've realized with time, and this is something that I learned in my my trainings in the jungle with the shaman in the jungle.
I'm glad you said that. I was supposed to ask you about that. Tell us briefly about that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're going to pull away from what I wanted to do, but I want to make sure I get that in, because that was quite striking when you talked about your journey from London to the jungles of the Amazon with a shaman. Yeah. Tell us about that.
Well, that's a very long story, but very briefly, I had trained as a psychotherapist. I was working in like forensic units, and I was doing the standard Western medicine of the mind.
Yeah.
And it wasn't enough for me. It wasn't enough.
No.
And I had kept this spiritual side of me separate and hidden away. And again, I was doing the thing that had me depressed in the past.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't being fully me, and I was afraid I would be rejected and thrown out of the associations, the school of thought that I was participating in. But then what comes to you and is supposed to come to you, it just arrives. And
I believe that.
And I had started this this workshop space in a converted warehouse in East London, where the Alma Hub, I called it. And I wanted to have workshops and seminars, but I wanted it to be integrative and holistic. And I started getting really amazing practitioners into that space. And I got to explore with different modalities, yet the shamanic path was calling me, and I wasn't answering the call. Until a shaman appeared on my door.
Oh, literally.
Yeah. And I was like, hello? and that shaman brought me to another experience, another retreat. And in that retreat, and then another, and then another,
Yeah.
and then I got deeper and deeper. And the experiences that I had there with plant medicines, this is a very long time ago now.
Yeah.
It was ayahuasca, so the plant medicines showed me something. Like within an hour, I had done more work than I had done myself in 5 years of therapy,
Oh, wow.
of weekly therapy, psychotherapy.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, what does this say about me, my profession? What does it say about the world? So I started questioning everything.
Yeah.
And as well as questioning and integrating the stories and the narratives. And then again, another shaman appeared. And this shaman was from the Amazon. And I remember speaking to him on the phone, and he said, I was waiting for you to call, my sister. I was like, what? Yes, because you are a shaman, you know that. I was like, no, I'm a psychotherapist. Excuse me, I am not any of those things. And he was just laughing. So no, you're gonna come to the jungle with me.
Oh, I love it.
Are you sure? Yeah. And yes, a few months later I was in the jungle, and he put me to work, and I was learning all these things and learning about the plants. And I was a city girl. I had been in London and Paris for so long, wearing my red lipstick and high heels, and I was like, what am I doing?
No high heels
here?
in the jungle.
No. So the first week I'm like, okay, I've seen it, I need to leave. But after the third week I was like, I am nature, I am the anaconda. I was like, give me the anaconda and I will just hold it. And there's some pictures of me doing that, having an anaconda.
Oh, wow. Yes.
I was so into it.
Yeah.
But anyway, so in there, after many journeys with the plant medicine, I got to experience what my purpose was. Why am I here? Why am I going through all of this? Why? I don't understand it. And then I was shown this energy that kept saying to me, you're a being of joy.
Yeah.
You're a being of joy. You came here to experience joy and to help others experience joy too and find joy in their lives.
Yeah.
So now, whenever I am not in joy, I know that I'm not being myself.
Not true to yourself.
Yeah. So that's where
I can't believe I almost forgot to I did forget to step into that, but that's just quite it's almost polar opposite in the sense that when people think of shamanism, they think primitive, unproven, mystical. But then you have the traditional path of learning how to be a psychotherapist, how to be a sexologist, how to be a coach. That's a very clinical, modern, almost written in stone procedure that you take to learn that. But that you would take those two polar opposites and incorporate it into your experience.
Yeah.
Well, again, that's another testament to the type of person you are, the seeker of knowledge that is Lexie Koren.
Bang on.
Yeah?
Seeker of knowledge.
How about that? Bang on. Bang on, dude. If I can incorporate a British saying with a American, bang on, dude. No. But again, it shows, you are many things wrapped into one. But I think we all are. Like, again, I say this all the time. We are the sum of our life experiences, both the positive and negative, both the primitive in the Amazon and the modern with the traditional schooling. It's that's life.
Yeah, and also, I'm thinking about where I learned so much in the jungle, yet a lot of it can only be used there. You have to contextualize. So I live here.
Yes.
I live in the Western world.
Yeah.
And as much as I try to decolonize myself, I still live in this society. So what I'm doing is that I apply all this knowledge and apply it in a way that is helpful for the people who live in this part of the world, and I use that for sensuality, for creativity, for helping people, whether with their relationships to themselves, to their bodies, to their sexual selves.
Yeah.
Sacred sexuality.
Sacred is sexuality sacred?
It can be.
Excuse me. It can be. How?
It can be if you follow the same idea that I was talking to you about earlier about turning routine into ritual. Then sexuality can become, just as life can become sacred, sexuality can become sacred.
Absolutely. Interesting.
And you can have you can create magic in your sex life if you apply that.
Let me go get Snoopy in here. We'll keep talking about that.
We can have an episode just on sacred sexuality.
Well, sexuality is an important thing. Sexuality can be the bond that keeps a difficult relationship together.
Oh, please say more. Please say more.
Well, and I'm no expert in this, but just through my observations, it's almost cool. I don't know if it's because of modern feminism or what, but it's almost cool. And you hear a lot of people say, well, sex is not important. Your relationship should be stronger than the sex.
Oh, who says that?
Unfortunately, a lot of people say that. I say that a relationship is strong, at least in part, because of the sex. Because sex acts with your partner is an expression of how you feel. I mean, I can express it with words, but I can also express it with sexual acts. And everybody, I don't know if this is so very thought out on an individual basis, but it's at least ingrained in our DNA. This whole thing about getting sexual affirmation is an important part of who we are, I think. I'm not saying it's the say-all. It's not at the top of the list when you're looking for a relationship with someone, but it is the glue of a relationship. It can also be the lightning strike that fractures a relationship. Do you see what I'm saying?
That's a lot to unpack there, but I think
is that a friendly way of saying I'm way off base here?
No, I'm just saying I'm curious. In a different setting, I'll be curious.
Yeah, that's a long discussion.
But I believe I'm a sex positive sexologist, which means that I have a non-judgmental approach to how people experience their sexuality, whether you are monogamous, polyamorous, whether you are asexual, demisexual, sapiosexual, pansexual. I'm open to learning about people's experiences. So I don't lock myself into one way of looking at sexuality, and therefore I don't see sexuality as the glue that keeps a relationship together. So that's why.
No, I'm not saying it is always, but I'm saying it can be. But because sexuality, if you're in a relationship and there's a certain symbiosis in relationships, but you're also talking about two individuals whose thoughts and opinions and desires when it comes to sex can differ over time to where you become further and further apart. And then that sexuality is no longer the glue of the relationship.
Communication.
Exactly.
Communication is.
Exactly. And when I say sex is the glue, it's not the only glue, because you do have communication. You do have responsibility and the division of responsibilities and the union of responsibilities. Is this a couple who has children or don't have children? So there's many things that are part of that glue in a relationship, I feel. But among those things that hold a relationship together or can destroy a relationship, I believe sex is an important one. It's not the most important, but it is an important one. I've talked with people on my show before, and they talk about how they feel that sex should be, just put an X over that. That has nothing to do with the relationship. I just can't get behind that. I mean, that's their thing to think, but I don't see how that would work for me, is what I'm saying.
Depends on what kind of relationship it is.
Exactly.
What kind of structure you have on it. Because you can have romantic relationships without sex, and you can have sexual relationships without romance. There's so many types of relationships you can have.
There's so many variations.
Yeah. But the one thing that is vital is communication.
Absolutely.
No matter what kind of relationship it is.
You've got to talk. You've got to communicate. You've got to,
And you got to say what it is that you need and want, and what you're available for, and what you are going to what you are going to expect and what you are going to deliver or
Yeah.
try to deliver.
I've had friends who have split up a marriage that lasted 10 years plus. And, they'll talk to me about it and they'll tell me all these reasons why they left. And in a couple of these situations, I've asked this friend, well, did you tell your ex that? And no. And I'm thinking, there's a soft way to say it, but the straightforward way to say it is that maybe you would still be together if you had told them that. Again, that goes back to communication and how important that is in a relationship.
Yeah. You know the 5 love languages?
No.
I just don't remember the name. I'm terrible with names. I don't remember the doctors that developed this concept. It makes it quite easy for people to kind of figure out what they need in order to feel loved and to express love. So you have words of affirmation, you have physical touch, you have quality time, and you have 2 more that just evade me right now. And yeah, that's the thing. But gift giving and acts of service. There you go. Yeah. Those are the 5 ones. And some people, do you have an idea, an inkling what your love language could be? What do you feel most comfortable with? Like words of affirmation, physical touch, acts of service, gift giving, and the last one that I said that I forgot again.
I think acts
of service.
I think that, yeah.
That's how you express love.
Yeah, I'll say this quite openly. I very rarely, I love Snoop with all my heart. She saved my life. She is my life. But I very rarely say I love you. Very rarely. That's a phrase. But what is the act of loving her?
Right.
What is the gesture that confirms that I love her? Yeah.
And what about for yourself? How do you feel most loved?
Same thing. Through acts. Yeah. When Snoopy does something, and it could be the smallest thing, I'll give you a good example. I have never said how fascinated I am with plants. Growing them, taking care of them. I've never said that. I've never put words on that. But apparently, over the last 21 years since we've been married, she's picked up on that. And she brought home it's like a hydroponic shelf type of thing. And I haven't done it yet because my arm isn't working good because of this ridiculous shoulder. But she bought me this thing. It's a hydroponic thing, and you can basically start growing a jungle, and it's so many different plants. And that, it crushed my heart in such a beautiful way, and I got so emotional when she came in with that. So it's the gesture of her doing that, and the fact that she picked up on my interest in that without me ever saying it. That whole thing is so much better than her looking me in the eye and saying, "I love you, John."
Right.
Yeah.
So that's a strong indicator that
yes.
could be your love language.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I think it is. I've never thought of the love language. I learned so many different new concepts and different ways of thinking. I mean, you come with these different phrases and these different concepts. And again, this is your expertise as a therapist, as a counselor, as a coach. And it's like I've told you before, it's the way you live your life. It's the way you are. You are constantly a lesson being taught to anybody who's around you, without being, coming from above and down. You're just living your life and you're just being you and you're just saying the things that you say, but there's so much good to be learned. There's so much about joy and how to achieve it that is learned through your life. Yeah.
Well, not so much achieve it. I'd say create it. Because it's not something that is outside.
Something, it's not something to reach. Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
So it's from here. And often what we need to do is to go and look at where the blockages are.
Yes. Yeah.
And look at them, take them externalize them. That's why I use the arts and creativity, because we get to, sometimes we don't have a language for it. No. So, okay, so what does it feel? Where in your body is it? Oh, it's on my shoulder. Yeah. Oh, okay, so if you can describe to me what it looks like. The size. Oh, it's,
in the book you talk about people actually drawing a life-size outline of their body, and then they're placing these things. Yeah.
I work a lot with embodiments. I mean,
it's a great coaching method.
All the integrations, all the different parts, because the body remembers. So if we experience trauma, we might forget it, but the body remembers. Yeah. So if we start looking at the blockages, and then we look at them with compassion, and we look at them from the outside looking in, from our own compassionate selves, we can give ourselves permission to do things, to be all that we want.
Permission to play.
Exactly.
Permission to play. And with that, I want to take our last break. When we come back, Lexie, I want to ask you to do one more thing. Remember, I said you got to do two things. We got off track on a great conversation, but that's what happens when the conversation is good. When the dialogue is fruitful, this is what happens. We go over time. This is Coming Home with John Allen. We'll be right back. And we're back. Lexie, the last thing I'd like to ask of you, and take the time that you need to do this, but you are quite the motivator. You are quite the inspiration. That's why I have you here. All of my guests, it's very thought out. It's not random for me. I invite people to be on who inspire me. And this is quite selfish, but selfish in a good way. I want to be inspired. I want to be motivated, and I want to learn things. And then secondary to that, it's my hope that my viewers and listeners can also learn something, be inspired by something, and motivated through hearing and watching these conversations. So that's why you're here, and that's why I love you. Along those lines, can you say something that my viewers and listeners can take with them on their journey through this life? People have great lives, people have horrible lives, people have something in between, but all of them can be improved through good coaching, through the observation of good dialogue, and through direct words. We can help people. What can you say to my viewers and listeners?
I would say that joy can coexist with grief, that your feelings are valid, that you matter.
That's beautiful. I'm going to take that with me throughout the rest of today, and probably tomorrow and the next day again. I want to thank you, Lexie, for coming on my program yet again. Again, I have to check, but I think you're the guest who has been here the most often. And what can I say? I call you friend. I call you sister. I love you. I love the work that you do. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, and for being so open and generous with your space and your mind and your heart.
There's always a place for you in all of that. Always a place. Listen, everybody, check out Lexie's book. Check out her website. Check her out on social media. LexieKoren.com, correct?
Yes.
LexieKoren.com. And the name of your book?
Creating Joy.
And that is what she does. Bye, everybody. Thank you.